everybody. Welcome into the High Noon Rant with me, Pugs, Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's all the hot topics, current events, headlines, whatever it is that you need to know about this day. I sit here and I give it to you every day at noon, Monday through Friday. How do we do this here? We do it in 4 quarters. I'm going to tell you right out how we do this, just so you know what you have to look forward to. We look at it like a football game. First quarter, we do a segment called Erstwhile on This Day. This is where we take a look back at the headlines of the day, events that have shaped our understanding of what this day has meant in years past. Then quarter 2, birthdays. We look at people who have birthdays today. We go through it. We're like, are they cool? That's really the criteria we're looking for. Do we like this person? They're having a birthday. Then quarter 3 brings us to the deads. We look at people who died on this day. And this is the fun one for me because we get to weigh their entire life's contribution and decide if they go to heaven or hell. That's quarters 1, 2, and 3. Then we get into quarter 4. That is the that's really the fuel, the rocket fuel of this daily live stream. Quarter 4 is all of the headlines, hot topics, current events, whatever it is. This is the stuff that I wake up early. I go through all the newspaper. I watch all the news shows. I look at all the trend sites. I look at what people are buzzing about. Compile it, deliver it to you every day, Monday through Friday, right here. Now, it's the manner in which I deliver these needed nuggets of utilitarian value. I do it in a stream of consciousness style. Now, what is that, you say? Well, a stream of consciousness is just where someone starts speaking and they don't stop until they're done. Now, how long that is, who knows? 2 hours, typically. That's what this goes, 2 hours. I don't take breaks. I don't have commercials. We don't stop down for traffic, weather, or whatever. There's no point in this where I get to sit back and relax and take 5 minutes off while commercials play. No, stream of consciousness. So I'm going to give you everything you need in 2 hours. If you're ready, well, we're not ready yet. We've still got other things. Other housekeeping. I don't know. This show, as we say, runs on your gratuities. Thank you so much. And every day, the person who tips the best gets themselves high atop the executive producer board. Today's executive producer of the High Noon Report. Why does it say High Noon Report? It's supposed to say High Noon Rant. Don't know why. I got to change that. I'm going to change it right now. I don't like it. Bothers me. It's incongruent, if you will. Hold on. Let me make that change. Can we talk a little bit about my guy, Huge? Yeah, he's huge. He came up huge for us. There you go. Our executive producer today is Huge Morris. Hugh and I go way back. God, Hugh goes back way back, all the way back to the very beginning. Thank you so much. Hugh dropped the biggest tip of yesterday. I appreciate that. That is not to take away from April. April also got involved. If nobody tips today, then April will definitely be the executive producer of tomorrow's show. So thank you so much to Hugh. Appreciate it, man. I realized something last night when I was kind of getting the bills in order. You know how I stream everything. All right, I let everything leak over to like the 4th. That's the last day. The 4th of the month is when I make sure all the bills are paid. Otherwise, I'm just a deadbeat. You'd think I could probably work that out where maybe the 31st. Why not the 31st? Well, that's not how I roll. So as I was doing our weekly accounting, our monthly accounting here, this end of the month snuck up on us. We should be pushing right now, but I don't have a number. I don't know what our goal number would be. I know that our day would be by end of show Tuesday. We have to make the money for December. I would imagine that we're somewhere in the ballpark of $200 that we need to raise over the next 4 or 5 days, something like that. Probably a little bit more, but somewhere in that area. Anyway, thank you, folks. You keep the show going. Now we're in our 3rd year. Incredible. Appreciate it. So I'll have a number for you tomorrow, and I'll start being the obnoxious ass tomorrow. But thank you so much to Hugh for getting us going. Hugh is today's executive producer. All right, let's get started on the show. Why not, right? Why delay it? Although it's 12:06, a lot of people probably aren't used to the show being this far afield this early. Adam's here. Hi, Adam. How are you, buddy? Peter here. Peter L. Peter L's a good producer of the show. Hi, Peter's here. Barney's here. Taranda's here every day. Lover, Leslie C. Do you remember when we used to have like multiple Leslies? I don't know. My Leslie attrition rate is not good, but that's okay. That's okay, because obviously Leslie C, that C stands for champion. She is the champion of the Leslies. She outlasted them all. One of them went crazy. And one of them hurts my heart, but we'll save that for another day. But at any rate, it's good to see you all. Byron's here, of course. All right, everybody, come in, get in. I know it's a little bit early today. The chat room is typically at peak around 12:40 because people don't think the show starts at high noon. And why should they? It rarely does. It did today, although high noon, 12:01. All right, let's get started. I don't care. I'm not going to hold up the show. We're just going to go. Can I say this, though? Not a great fourth quarter today. All of the big news, there's nothing that really made me go, oh man, I can't wait to rant on this. It's a bunch of stuff you need to know, and it's a bunch of stuff that's happening, but there's nothing really great there. There are some interesting erstwhiles. There are some interesting things I can rant about that occurred in history on this day, and certainly we always have fun with the birthdays and the deaths. So we do have that to look forward to. All right, welcome in. It is the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. It is 11/29/23. What does that mean? That means the month is 11, November, day is 23, 23rd, year of our Lord, 2023, 333rd day of the year this is. That sounds like a milestone. 333. That sounds good. 333rd day of the year. There are 32 days left. All right, let's get into segment 1 of this show. We call this Erstwhile on this day, or maybe, I'm such an asshole. I realize that, right? I like erstwhile on this day. Okay, so I call it that because it was used in the television show Fargo, and I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was just pretentiously funny. So we call it erstwhile on this day. That's the only reason for it. I said something yesterday. I feel like an a-hole. I feel like I used a phrase yesterday around some people who I considered to be smart, intuitive people, and neither of them knew what this phrase meant, and they just looked at me like, what? What are you talking about? We were coming up with names for a project, and I came up with a great name. It was a great name. So great, in fact, as soon as they looked it up, they found that somebody else was already using it. It's a great success. So we couldn't use it anyway. But still, the fact that they were like, that's not a good name. I'm like, that's a great name. And I just took for it. It was a play. All right. See, this is where I hate myself. Because now as I say this, I'm like, oh, you pretentious D-bag. So it was a play on the Latin phrase, vox populi, which is Latin for voice of the people. That's what vox populi means. Vox Dei, voice of God. It's basic Latin. Are none of you Catholic? Have none of you ever been in severe legal trouble? Have none of you ever gone to medical school? Those are, I think, the only people who know Latin. Catholics, lawyers, and doctors. Those are the only people who I guess know Latin anymore. So I used the phrase vox populi, and everybody looked at me like I was like, what? That's not even a word. And I'm like, yes, it is. It means something. The phrase I came up with was pod populi. But, whatever. Pod populi. To me, that sounds like a cool name. But no, but they looked at me. They made me feel bad. And then I got angry, and I overreacted. And I called them all stupid, which is something that I do, which is something that I need to stop doing. I need to stop calling people stupid simply because I'm not smart. There's no way I'm smart. I just have a lot of I just got a lot of meaningless stuff in here, right? I'm a trivia champion, which means that I'm incredibly stupid in real life. Like I make bad decisions, but I can tell you who executive produced season 3, episode 5 of The Golden Girls in a bar. That I can do. I don't know who that would be, actually. Now that I posed that question, I'm like, I don't know. Who's the executive producer of Golden Girls? That was the same people who did, that was that Barb Harris, Junger Witt. Let's go with that. Anyway, I was pretentious yesterday with the name, but I think that's a good name. And now it's like, what? I got to dumb it down with smart people? These were smart people. These were people who I trust. These are people who I have great regard for. They didn't know that word. And I felt like, God, this is me. This is why I'm a loser. Because I use phrases like pod populi. Stupid. All right, let's get into it. Erstwhile on this day. Another stupid word that I need to stop using. Nobody knows what erstwhile is, and you had to look it up. I did. I admit I even had to look it up. When they were using it in Fargo, I was like, how is that properly used? And I went, oh, that's a fun word. Pretentious asshole right here. Let's get started. Erstwhile on this day. Quarter one of today's show. Stream of consciousness. See, I'm just ranting. That's what you get. You get me ranting. You never know where I'm going to go. But here's the thing. This is why I say I had a friend in radio say, that's dangerous, dude. You could just, you'll say. And I said to him, I go, I'm not worried about saying anything wrong because I'm not an asshole. Because I know that I'm not an asshole. And I know that everything that I say I can justify as being morally sound, or at least, and when I'm not being that, I'm being so obviously over the top and silly that it's obvious to anyone other than, mentally handicapped. Erstwhile on this day. Here, we're going to run through a couple of things here. We're going to run through three really quick here because this is what I say when I say we look at the past to find rhythms. We look at the past for things that have occurred multiple times over multiple years on this day. It means we got to be on the lookout for them today. And today's on the lookout, earthquakes. Oh my God, this is a day when the world has seen some big earthquakes. On this day in 1114, a large earthquake damages the areas of the Crusades in the Middle East. It's known historically as the Moran earthquake. Everybody died. Let's just say everybody died because they didn't count bodies back then, right? During the Crusades, they were just like, we won the war. We don't know what the casualties are, but everybody died. A terrible earthquake. I looked at the Wikipedia page. It was terrible. And you have to imagine that this occurring during the Crusades, the wars between Christianity and Islam. Yeah, at some point they're like, okay. But did they both interpret that as their God? Like our God is shaking the ground because I don't know. Religion is weird. On this day in 1732, a magnitude 6.8 earthquake causes 2,000 deaths in the former Kingdom of Naples in southern Italy. So we had a big earthquake in 1114. We had a bigger earthquake in 1732. How about 1783? A 5.5 magnitude earthquake strikes New Jersey. The Great Trenton Shaking of 1783. I don't know what that. I've never heard of that one before. Anyway, 3 in a row. Boom, boom, boom. Earthquakes. This is an earthquake day. So be on the lookout for earthquakes. On this day in 1877, erstwhile, while the rest of the world was suffering through earthquakes, on this day in 1877, Thomas Edison demonstrates his phonograph for the very first time. Yeah, that's like a record player. That's what a phonograph is, right? On this day in 1947, the United Nations General Assembly approves a plan for the partition of Palestine, and everything went swimmingly. 1947, they had their plan for Palestine, and whatever happened with them crazy, kooky Palestinians? Everything was fine, right? On this day in 1963, United States President Lyndon Baines Johnson establishes the Warren Commission to investigate the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The Warren Commission was a joke. Earl Warren didn't even want to do it. He was like, Earl Warren had thoughts. Earl Warren's like, I got thoughts on this, and I really don't want to overturn these rocks. But he did. And Earl Warren was a good little Nazi, and he put the story out that was approved by the alien lizard people overlords. On this day in 1963, the Warren Commission was established. On this day, also in 1963, at the very same time, Earl Warren was going, I don't want to do this, because he knew his name would forever be, one that people go, like people don't hear the Warren Commission and go, the Warren Commission. That shows what American can do when Americans come together and they look into something. No, we didn't do that with the Warren Commission. We went, that doesn't sound right. How much did we spend on that? That doesn't sound right. While that was going on, the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Hold on, hiccups. I'm fighting a hiccup. I'm going to defeat this hiccup. I can feel it brewing, and I'm going to beat this hiccup's ass. I feel like I did. I Want to Hold Your Hand goes to number 1 in England. It was basically the first time the Beatles had any kind of chart success, and it started what would become that whole Beatles thing. On this day in 1972, Atari releases Pong, the first commercially successful video game. This bothers me because Atari was released, Pong was released in 72. Hiccups. I'm fighting the hiccup. It's coming back. This hiccup is going to try and make itself known. And I'm right now, there is a war going on inside of me. It's actually kind of amazing that I can hold a conversation while doing battle like this internally. Atari was released in 1972. I don't think I had an Atari system until 1978. What the hell, parents? What? Really? Uh-oh. Here we go. This is a big one. I should just No. That was gas. That was good. That was gas. The hiccup started to come and the gas went. That's what you get on this show. You get a stream of consciousness that also clocks all of my internal bubblings up, all of that stuff. I'll tell you when they happen because I'm insecure that way. So I didn't like have an Atari Pong system until like 76, 78. They were released in 72. Now I'm angry at my mom. Why did it take her 6 years to give me that? Because that was crazy, man. Woo! When we first saw Pong, I probably first played Pong on a black and white TV with like antennas that had tinfoil on them because, I, as the kid, had broken the antenna because that's what kids did in the 70s. They broke all the antennas and you had to put tinfoil on them. Had to make these big goofy flags out of the tinfoil. I don't know what we were thinking. We all became like, magnetic engineers or something. I don't know. Atari, boop, boop, boop. It was so simple. It was so simple. I'm surprised kids, are retro games popular? Like, I wonder if my kid would play Pong. I'd play Pong with my kid. Boop. Boop. And then remember like the expert level on Pong was insane because the paddles themselves became like this big and then the ball became like a dot of rice and it was now going like 5 times the speed of the entry level and it's just going boop, 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 boop. That was crazy. I never got to that level. I was never that good. Again, I was probably only 7 or 8. But anyway, Pong released on this day in 1972. And honestly, folks, there ain't really nothing else happening in the world. So it's on the birthdays. One-em. They say it's their birthday. Born on this day in 1921. Crazy lady who became famous only because her son became very famous. But she became kind of famous in the 80s. Became a bit of an embarrassment for her celebrity son. But whatever, it's mom. They didn't spend a whole lot of time on her in the recent documentary on Sylvester Stallone that Netflix put up. It's Jackie Stallone's birthday. She died in 2020. She, when Rocky was Rambo, when Rocky the 80s, when Stallone was Stallone, she suddenly turned up on TV as a psychic, telling people, give me your money, kind of wacky. She got booked on a lot of TV shows not because she was a psychic, but because she was a psychic who was also Sylvester Stallone's mom. Jackie Stallone, born on this day in 1921. Born on this day in 1925. Minnie Minoso. Yay! Oh, one of my favorite White Sox players of all time. One of the iconic White Sox players. One of the guys that, I was going to say, in relation to the Dallas Cowboys, he would be, if the White Sox had a ring of honor, he would be in the ring. But the White Sox do have a ring they've got statues. They've got the statue garden. And of course, Minnie Minoso has a statue right next to Big Frank. Big Frank Thomas got a statue out there. Pudge Fisk got a statue out there. We got to get Jose a statue. Abreu, when we build in Jose, we got to get Jose out there. Minnie Minoso, born on this day in 1925, died in 2015. Not a gimmicky player, a great baseball player, but gimmicky in the fact that he holds the major league record for having played in more decades. Like, I think he played in 5 decades, Minnie Minoso. And that's because, like, in his 4th decade, they were like, let's let Minnie take 1 at bat. And then so he got in the record books at like 45 as a stunt. And then, like, at 50, he did it again. Like, I think maybe it was like opening day or something, and he made the roster, and Minnie Minoso went up to bat. So he went to the plate in 5 decades. Minnie Minoso was great. A forgotten guy, a forgotten American. He's one of the first Cuban superstars of baseball. Didn't speak English all that well. Was a great personality, bigger than life personality on the south side of Chicago, but wasn't really a time that the American national media was sensationalizing Cuban ball players who spoke broken English, but He's beloved. Minnie Minoso, born on this day in 1925, also born on this day in 1927. Someone else beloved in the baseball circles. Vin Scully, the voice of baseball, many will tell you. To me, he's the voice of the Dodgers, but whatever. Voice of baseball. Vin Scully, born on this day in 1927. Born on this day in 1928. Okay, now we have rules with the deads. This is not the deads. We're celebrating birthdays, but we have rules with the deads where politicians go to hell. Right. And I said, look, that's a hard and fast rule, but we also are open-minded here. So we look at people one-on-one. This is a politician who I would not send to hell. This would be the exception of if you're a politician, you go to hell. This is my favorite politician of all time. This is a guy who on numerous occasions I got to spend time with simply because he was a regular on the overnight talk radio show that I interned on. This was when I was an intern. It was an overnight Chicago talk radio show called Chicago Ed. He's a legend, Eddie Schwartz. He was a legend in Chicago for like 30 years, overnights, just doing that big city, edgy overnight talk, getting into heavy subjects, really cool subjects. This guy got into some really cool stuff and had some really important friends. And Paul Simon, Senator Paul Simon was one of them. Senator Paul Simon celebrating a birthday today. I size people up, and he was a genuine man. He was the closest thing. If you look at politics and you are thirsty or were thirsty as a young person, because this is going back 25, 30 years, and were thirsty for that Jimmy Stewart, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington type, it was Paul Simon. Here's the problem. He was ugly. He was ugly. That's what held Paul Simon back. He was an ugly man. Incredibly brilliant, incredibly decent. Could play the moderate, could play both sides, was a Democrat, but dealt with downstate Illinois. He was a downstate Illinois Democrat who was beloved downstate by the farmers and all that. He could have been something, but he was ugly. Paul Simon, born on this day in 1928, and the media went, ew, let's just make fun of his earlobes. Okay, yeah, let's do that, you fucking ghouls. Paul Simon, born on this day in 1928. He died in 2003. Says here, Paul Simon, American soldier. He was a soldier, war hero. American soldier, politician. He was a newspaper publisher. It says here, 39th Lieutenant Governor of Illinois. He was a United States Senator for like 20 years. You're going to put Lieutenant Governor as Illinois? Born on this day in 1940. Denny Doherty, Canadian musician, singer, songwriter, and actor. Denny Doherty is the guy in the Mamas and the Papas that nobody knows. Yet he was the guy with the most beautiful singing voice. He sang all the beautiful male leads. I mean, everybody in the Mamas and the Papas. The Papas were Denny Doherty and John Phillips, and the Mamas were Cass Elliot and Michelle Phillips. Nobody remembers. Everybody knows Michelle Phillips because she was gorgeous. Everybody knows John Phillips because he was a genius who was a dirtbag. Everybody knows Cass Elliot because she was an amazing talent who died young. Nobody knows Denny Doherty. Happy birthday, Denny Doherty. Is he dead? He might be dead. Let me see. Yeah, he died. Born on this day in 1940, still alive. Dude did one thing, and it was everywhere for like a year. All right, so this is the guy. This guy, born on this day. Do you remember this? I'll do it this way because I can't do it another way. Let me get my breath. See, I lost it. Remember Chuck Mangione? Feels so good. Why did we make him famous? He looked like a Muppet character. Is that why we made him famous? Because he looked like the guy in the band in the Muppets? And then he just played. It's like ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Mangione. And he comes out. And we're all sitting there watching this guy. And me as a kid, I'm going, when's the singing start? It was the first time. I wasn't aware of instrumentals being pop hits. This was a new thing. Doesn't happen a lot. Hasn't happened a lot since, but there you go. Instrumentals that were pop hits. You got that one, right? There are some that are not necessarily instrumentals because there's nonsense vocals somewhere in them, but there's a lot of surf rock that were instrumental pop hits. I don't know. All right. I don't care. Chuck Mangione. What's up with that? Born on this day in 1949. Happy birthday, one of the greats, Gary Shandling, American comedian and actor. Gary Shandling has two of the best situation comedies that were ever made in television. The Gary Shandling Show, which was something that he did for Showtime in the early 80s, or late 80s. I'm sorry, late 80s, early 90s. It's Gary Shandling Show. Showtime. It was fantastic. It was one of those break the fourth wall type shows. Breaking the fourth wall means that in the middle of the show, he would stop, look at the camera, and start talking to us, the audience. Like it was a really well done show. It was really smart, really great, really funny. I loved It's Gary Shandling. Then that show went off the air, and he got a better deal at HBO. And what does he create? Larry Sanders. Larry Sanders, which is arguably, I don't know, man. I always go back to like Arrested Development. I recently added Community into this conversation of the funniest situation comedies of all time. Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Man, I can't say these words without saying The Larry Sanders Show next. The Larry Sanders Show was hysterical. Gary Shandling, born on this day. Died, sadly, in 2016 of cancer. There's a great documentary about him that Judd Apatow made. Judd Apatow was sort of like Gary Shandling's assistant. Like he did everything for Gary for a number of years. And then Judd Apatow, of course, would become one of the most important comedic film directors of the past 20 years. But he made a documentary about his friend Gary Shandling and about his years working for Gary Shandling. And it was beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Born on this day in 1954, Joel Coen. Joel Coen, of course, one half of the Coen brothers, Joel and Ethan Coen. The Coen brothers, they make good movies. Fargo, I love Fargo. I love the series Fargo better than, better. I love the series Fargo more than I like the movie, but still. Let's go through some of these Coen brothers films. Blood Simple, amazing. Raising Arizona, amazing. Miller's Crossing, amazing. Barton Fink, it's all right. Hudsucker Proxy, it's all right. Fargo, amazing. The Big Lebowski, amazing. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, amazing. Let's see here. No Country for Old Men, amazing. Burn After Reading, terrible. Burn After Reading is like, I guess that's the thing. That's the outlier for me in the Coen brothers, because Burn After Reading sucked. Hail Caesar, I didn't like that. Inside Llewellyn Davis, I did not like that. The Ballad of Buster Scruggs for Netflix, that was great. That was Coen brothers, like pure Coen brothers. That was great. Yeah, so there you go, man. They're legit. I'm sorry, the Coen brothers are legit. I would have done a draft, but I wasn't sure. I think Ethan's the one who actually is more involved in the movies. I think Joel is I don't know. I could figure that out. I could be wrong. Joel Coen of the Coen brothers. Let's see here. Born on this day in 1955, Howie Mandel. Met Howie Mandel twice. And it's true. He won't shake your hand. He's like got a weird, he like did this weird bow thing both times. I'm like, hey, Howie. He's got a weird germ thing. Yeah. Anyway, Howie Mandel. Let's see here. Born on this day in 1961, Tom Sizemore. Tom Sizemore. This is trouble for me because who was Tom Sizemore? He's the one that died. Okay, so Tom Sizemore is the troubled one. You know, the Hollywood Clone Factory. I always tell you about the Hollywood Clone Factory. They made a number of these guys, these Tom Sizemore guys. You got Tom Sizemore. You got Michael Madsen. You got the other guy. Who's the other guy? The guy who's all not Tom Sizemore, not Michael Madsen. The guy's I can't think of his name. He was the star of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. He came out of the Clone Factory at the same time as Madsen and Sizemore. Let's see if we can find this. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer film. I have to figure out who is this guy that played him. He's in a lot of things. He's the good one. He's like the one that did good stuff. John McNaughton. Michael Rooker. That's him. Michael Rooker. It's Michael Madsen, Michael Rooker, and Tom Sizemore. Those are the three that came out. Tom Sizemore was the most troubling of all of them. He was the one that had all the crack arrests and stuff like that, but they're all the exact same actor, mark my words. All right, moving on. Happy birthday, Tom Sizemore. You're dead, but still, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1962. Here's another discontinued item from the Hollywood Clone Factory. What is the Hollywood Clone Factory? I explain what this is all the time. It's a factory that has existed in the Hollywood Hills for years. Actually, it's hidden behind the Hollywood sign underground in that mountain beneath the Griffith Observatory. A tunnel system connects them. Yeah. Hey, this guy doesn't know Los Angeles. He just said the Griffith Observatory. And I know they're not in the same place. But my point is this. There's a whole tunnel system being run and operated by the studios. They created the clone system. This was part of MK Ultra, CIA, a joint CIA and entertainment venture, clandestine black op in the 1950s that ran through the mid-1970s. They started pumping out, well, they realized that the economy of California was driven by Hollywood, and certainly global influence was something America was seeking during the Cold War. So Hollywood was the way that they decided that they would, achieve their gains. So they went into cahoots with Hollywood. They created a clone factory of types that would be beloved around the world. And they always have some in reserve because sometimes types are busy on other movies and you need that type for this. So they've created clones. That's what the clone factory is. Sometimes they create clones and they release them. And people initially are like, yeah, we kind of like this one. And then they lose interest, whether first generations always, are trouble. And I don't know that Andrew McCarthy, celebrating a birthday today, was first generation or not. He may have been taken from an older model. He may have been based on that, but he just had nothing. He was released in the 80s. And initially people were like, okay, he checks a few boxes. He's handsome. And he's hanging out with other people that we like Tom Cruise and Rob Lowe and the Brat Pack. So let's make him famous. They had the same trouble with Judd Nelson, although they fixed Judd Nelson. James Spader was going the Andrew McCarthy way until they uploaded some new stuff into James Spader. And then James Spader started playing an old scary guy in his middle age. James Spader was going nowhere at 40. And now suddenly at 50, James Spader's a movie star again. My point is this: Andrew McCarthy discontinued in the Hollywood Clone Factory. We'll never see him again. He's with C. Thomas Howell and Matthew Caulfield of the 80s models from the Clone Factory they went, yeah, these aren't selling. Nobody wants the Andrew McCarthy. Molly Ringwald was also discontinued. Moving on. Although they bring her out sometimes because she was such a spectacular hit initially. She's the McRib of the Hollywood Clone Factory, Molly Ringwald. They bring her out like every couple of years for special occasions, but then they retire her again. Let's see here. Born on this day in 1964, one of my favorite actors, Don Cheadle. Love Don Cheadle. Born on this day in 1976, one of my favorite actors. He's dead and it's incredibly sad. Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick Boseman was so good, man. He was so good in everything that he did. You ever seen Chadwick Boseman play James Brown? Whoa! The Jackie Robinson movie he was great in. Played James Brown. He was awesome. And then, of course, Black Panther. I mean, whatever. Chadwick Boseman. What? Yeah, man, F cancer. Let me just say it. Let's all of us agree. That sucks. And that dude, now that we know the whole story about what that dude went through and how that dude kept it a secret and how he just wanted to keep making as many movies as he could because cancer struck at the exact same time that his career was the hottest it was ever going to be. So this dude was secretly getting all kinds of medical treatments while being sequestered on sets of movie locations around the world. This guy, Chadwick Boseman's a dude, man. Chadwick Boseman, God love him. Born on this day in 1988, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a D-bag. He's like the opposite of Chadwick Boseman. Russell Wilson can play now. You let Russell Wilson create and play, and he is Patrick Mahomes. He was the original model. Patrick Mahomes has done it to greater success over an extended period of time, but don't be sleeping on Russell Wilson. He is a D-bag. He is a total phony and a fake and a fraud, and his teammates hate him. Until he's out there creating plays. He can play. Sean Payton proved that Russell Wilson was not cooked. Okay. He had a bad season last year, got the move to Denver, a lot of pressure on him. That team sucked butt. Now he's got Sean Payton. That team is actually in the playoff hunt. The Denver Broncos could be the Bears were blowing out the Denver Broncos. That's actually what turned them around. The Denver Broncos, since coming back in the fourth quarter, down 20 to the Bears in the fourth quarter. Denver Broncos coming back down 20 in the fourth. I don't think they've lost since. They've been just on a roll ever since. Russell Wilson, happy birthday. Russ is back. All right, let's do the deads. These are the people who've died. This is where we look at people's life's resume and decide whether or not they're in heaven or hell. Let's move quickly through these. Dead on this day in 1981, Natalie Wood. Whoo. Natalie Wood was a looker. You guys ever look at Natalie Wood? Like, first of all, don't you perverts, don't look at like Miracle on 34th. What is it? I don't even know. She was the little girl in that Christmas movie, and she was an adorable little girl. Oh my God, you just want to give her kisses on the forehead. She's just so cute. She's cute. You want to carry her around everywhere. You just want to walk around with that little girl in your eyes. She's so cute. Well, she growed into a smoke show, as is often the case with these Hollywood kids. And she not only was a smoke show, but she became a real, legitimate adult actress. She was an adult actress. She made that transition, something that so many child actors couldn't do. Natalie Wood was able to do it. She became iconic. She became, she was not Elizabeth Taylor, but she was on that next level. She was a name. And then she died, and her husband killed her. Yeah, I think her husband killed her. I'm sorry. I love Robert Wagner. I've told this story before. Robert Wagner was partners in a restaurant in Chicago, and he was really trying to promote the hell out of this restaurant. So for some reason, he started hanging out on our morning show, Wendy and Bill on Q101. It was some restaurant that he and Kevin Costner owned. And Greg Norman, the clubhouse. I don't know, maybe there were a couple around the country. But Robert Wagner just started hanging out on our morning show because he liked us. Because as he said, he woke up early. His hotel was across the street. We were fun. And as long as we were going to invite him in, he'd have a cup of coffee every morning with us. Robert Wagner is awesome. I just love that guy. And I also believe he killed his wife. People are complicated. I don't know. He was nice to me. But yeah, can't pretend to know him. I know the public Robert Wagner, the handsome, dashing, charismatic guy that Hollywood fell in love with, that Natalie Wood fell in love with. The woman he killed. Natalie Wood, where do we put her? You know what? Because I believe she was killed, I think we got to put her in heaven. We got to put Natalie Wood in heaven, even though she was a crazy party girl who would so much prefer hell. Man, Dennis Hopper had some stories about Natalie Wood that he would tell from time to time. They concerned him, Natalie Wood, and James Dean, like 1955, rolling around Hollywood partying. The one famous story is Natalie Wood had heard that Lana Turner, who was a Hollywood actress in the generation before Natalie Wood had heard that Lana Turner bathed in champagne. So Dennis Hopper, Natalie Wood, and James Dean booked a hotel room, a big suite at the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood, and they ordered like 4 cases of champagne, and they filled up the bathtub with champagne. And Natalie Wood got in the bathtub filled with champagne and then had to be rushed to the hospital with burns all over her body because apparently that degree of champagne in the human body is not something that works. So I guess she had been lied to. Lana Turner did not bathe in champagne, and she found out with a trip to the emergency room. Dead on this day in 1981, Natalie Wood. We're putting her in heaven, but as I say, she'd prefer to be in hell because she was a party girl. On this day in 1986, the world lost my favorite actor. Well, a favorite actor from, and I don't even, favorite or second favorite. It's so hard to pick one, right? This would be from my classic category. Like favorite actor, like nowadays. I mean, my God. Like Michael Shannon. Like I think Michael Shannon might be my favorite actor nowadays. I also like Ryan Reynolds. Anyway, but from the classics, I always get caught between Spencer Tracy and Cary Grant. Cary Grant died on this day today. Spencer Tracy. Here's how I look when I was like a kid and I would watch these movies, these great classic actors, and just kind of get a vibe for what kind of game they were running. I always looked at Spencer Tracy and I went, okay. There's a normal guy. He's a normal looking guy, maybe even ugly. If he was working at the Jiffy Lube, you might not look twice at old Spence Tracy, right? But he's a movie star and he plays these salt of the earth, lovable, good guys, so apparently, that gets him women. All right, so I got that. So I looked at Spencer Tracy. I was like, I admire that. That guy's a good man. That is how you need to behave. That's how you need to carry yourself through life. Then I had like the fantasy realm, and that was Cary Grant. I'm like, okay, if I wasn't working with these fucked up genetics, I would want to be Cary Grant, but I can't be Cary Grant because I'm not 6'4", brutally handsome, like just brutally handsome. And nobody, I don't care what former NFL player you want to plop up on a pregame show in a fancy suit, nobody in the history of being a guy wore a suit the way Cary Grant could. Dude was awesome. Did LSD, was probably bisexual. He was just not a man of his era. I love Cary Grant. I'm putting him in heaven. He's a dude. Dead on this day in 1999. We got to open the books on old Gene Rayburn. That Shrek-looking weirdo. You guys know Gene Rayburn? Match Game. He's like a big ogre-looking guy. Gene Rayburn is a holdover from the time. Remember, I always talk about this time in TV before they decided, hey, maybe pretty people would work better. Remember, there was a lot of ugly people on TV in the early days because they went from radio to TV, and these were the people who were performers. So they added the video acts, and they're like, these people are ugly. So you're Milton Berle's. Like Milton Berle would never, Sid Caesar, Imogene Coca. Like all these people were made famous because there was nobody else. Because they were like, well, and then as the industry, began to sort of seek its own level there and it became a thing, then they started going, maybe attractive people would work. Well, Gene Rayburn was a holdover from that. He was a game show host in the 70s who probably started on TV in the 1950s, straight from radio. He was ugly. He looked weird. Like he hunched over, like grimace. I would say like when I close my eyes and I imagine like what character Gene Rayburn could be, he's either Grimace or Shrek, and neither are flattering. Gene Rayburn, let's put him in heaven. Why? Because he had to go through life ugly. And that's no fun for anyone, trust me. Gene Rayburn, putting the ugly guy in heaven. Although I think he was married to like hot chicks. Like I think Gene Rayburn had, you guys know Gene Rayburn. Just pull up an old Match Game. Just go Google search Match Game, and you'll see him in his poorly fitted suit with that humorously long microphone, skinny, long microphone. You just shove it in people's faces. He was awesome. Born on this day or dead on this day in 2001. Here's another important one. Let's do this, okay? Here's a big one. We can spend some. I'm going to preemptively put him in heaven because, I love this guy. Certainly never met him. Certainly don't have any. I just love this guy. This guy was just. Now, let me say this about this guy. He was also. I've read a number of biographies. I've seen all the documentaries and all that kind of stuff. He didn't suffer fools. So if you were trying to work him, like in his personal universe, if you were sitting in his living room and you were trying to work him, or you were being a bullshit artist, he would call you out. People were like, no. He did not suffer fools. He was a nice guy, and he gave people the benefit of the doubt, and he was always generous with his money, and he took care of people, and he supported worthy causes. But he could be a dick. Like there were people that were like, no, that guy's a dick. And then, it'd be like, well, he was probably a dick to you because you did something right. You were trying to get his money or something. We're talking about the death of George Harrison. George Harrison. Love that guy. That guy he was a kid. He's the youngest Beatle. He came from meager beginnings, right? I mean, so until 16 years old, he grew up working class. But then as soon as he joined the Beatles, they took off shortly after that. And he was a rock star his entire life. Never had to worry about work, right? Probably never even thought about it. If you start playing guitar and you're in a band, the Silver Beatles, or maybe it was Johnny and the Moondogs when he joined, I'm not sure. You join a band like that, and then you're 15, and the other guys in the band are all like 18, 19. Like the other guys in the band are like in art school, and they're like, well, if this doesn't work out, we'll do something. George Harrison never had to think about that. He was just like, yeah, I'm a high school kid. I don't play after school sports. I play in this band instead. So what I'm saying is that he was allowed the luxury of living his entire adult life as a superstar, a member of the Beatles, very wealthy, and being able to do whatever he wanted with his life. And, ideas of the time, I look back at some of the ideas of the 1960s and some of the things that people were, wanting. And I think, wow, that's misguided. They were just dumb hippies, you know? So you have to allow for some of that with George Harrison. But when you dig deeper, you find out that at least he was sincere. At least he was genuine. He wasn't he wasn't a phony. Like, you could say that Paul was a bit of a phony. Like, Paul loved the commercial success. Paul loved being a pop star, right? And Paul would do all of the things, and not George. George was real authentic, man. George Harrison, we're putting him in heaven. Although, again, he's another guy that would probably be more happy in hell, but we're putting him in heaven. Dead on this day in 2011. This was another one of our friends, another one of our Pugs and Kelly radio comedy friends, just dropping dead. All of our radio comedy friends drop dead. I don't get it. It's not like we seek out the ones that are ill or the ones with high cholesterol. On this day in 2011, stand-up comedian Patrice O'Neal passed away. Now, first of all, Patrice is going to hell because I know Patrice. I spent large amounts of time just hanging out with Patrice. He's been on the show a number of times. Patrice and I got into a really weird fight once. You know what this is? This goes back to, remember I started the show where I was talking about how I came up with the name Pod Populi and nobody liked it? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, fuck. All right. I had this issue with Patrice O'Neal. Patrice O'Neal was in studio with us, and he was particularly prickly. And you liked a prickly Patrice O'Neal because that was a ranting Patrice O'Neal. You want him to rant because he was funny when he would start ranting. He came in, and I noticed he was a bit more aggressive than usual. Like he seemed like kind of pissed about something. And he accused me of trying to act righteous. All right, so this is during the interview. He's like, "Oh, you're just trying to act righteous." And he used it incorrectly. Like, he used it wrong. Okay, so you know how sometimes I get mad when people think that words only have their pedestrian meaning? Meaning, we had an example of this last night with James where I snapped because I described something as being more romantic. And James went, romantic? And I'm like, oh, stop it with your pedestrian usage of the word romantic. No, romantic doesn't exclusively mean boy, girl, holding hands, kissy, kissy, love. That's not that. There is a larger, more artful meaning that isn't as pedestrian as anyway, that's kind of the argument I got into with Patrice O'Neal. It got ugly. He said, you telling me I don't know words? Oh, a white man telling me I'm like, no, Patrice, you're just using it incorrectly. You're trying to say, I mean, we were fine. We went out for drinks. We were fine, but it was Patrice O'Neal. Patrice O'Neal's going to hell. He was a good dude, but he was a hustler, and he was a liar, and he was a storyteller. He was an entertainer. I mean, what do you want? People are complicated. I'm putting Patrice O'Neal in hell because Patrice would probably have more fun in hell. No, actually, that's not true. I bet you Patrice would have more fun in heaven. Patrice would want to go to heaven just to get into fights with everybody up there. That's what all right, there you go. You know what, Patrice? We're putting you in heaven. There you go. We're moving you to heaven because I think maybe you'd like that. And I do, when push comes to shove, I do like you. Even though he's been dead now a couple of years. I will also say this about Patrice O'Neal. I liked him as an interview, as someone to come in and hang out and be a part of the show. I liked him as that. I didn't love his stand-up. I didn't think his stand-up was that great. A lot of the guys that I like the best, I don't think are great. I don't think their stand-up is great. I don't think Jim Norton's stand-up is great. I think Jim Norton's hysterical as a third on the radio in the moment with quick, witty, one-liners. I think he's brilliant at that. His stand-up is a little bit much for me. Stand-up is a little bit like, okay, I don't need this. Of course, I'm in a bit more these days. I'm more in like a Nate Bargatze mode of stand-up comedy. So Norton's still a little harsh. Florentine, I was never a great fan of Florentine. I love Florentine. I love Florentine Florentine can do so much. Like I'm always shocked that he didn't do more acting. I don't know why he didn't go do that full time. He's really good. His stand-up though, again, his stand-up was always a little bit too edgy for me. Anyway, Patrice O'Neal, we're putting him in heaven. He should be in hell, but I think it might be fun to just drop Patrice O'Neal in heaven. All right, folks, there you go. It is the High Noon Rant. Today's show is brought to us by our executive producer, Huge Morris. Thank you also to our girl April, who also dropped something. It's just it wasn't the biggest. It was nice. Thank you, April. I gotta say this, April. If nobody tips today, you'll get them. If nobody out tips your tip yesterday today, then you'll definitely be tomorrow. And you'll just randomly. I love you, April. I feel bad, but Hugh, thank you, Hugh dropped the bigger tip. That's all. It's just bigger. So thank you to Hugh. If you want to support the show, you can do that. You can drop a little something in the Cash App or the Venmo, because this kind of talk radio, non-divisive, non-political, just dudes chopping it up in the middle of the day, does not come free. So if you can drop whatever you can, that'd be great. Venmo, Cash App, going to leave that up as we move into quarter 4 of today's High Noon Rant. Quarter 4 is where we get into all the stuff that's happening today. These are the headlines. These are the things people are talking about. This is the meat and potatoes of the show. First and foremost, let's get started the way we start every show, at least in the last couple of weeks. Israel. All right, so the war in Israel still going on. Is this, I don't know, I don't have a TV. There was some talk about possibly extending the truce for another couple of days, but I think today is supposed to be the last day. There were 10 hostages freed yesterday. So one of the things that Hamas admitted, Israel and the United States are wanting the return of this young family with a baby. And they've been saying, we want them, we want the baby, we want them and the baby, we want them and the baby. And Hamas yesterday came out and said, yeah, they're dead. And so now Israel is, so the baby we keep seeing on TV is dead. So, that's the latest. Feel good from that little cluster F there in that ashtray part of the world. Ugh. Also trending today, there's a military crash outside of Japan. The United States military, an Osprey helicopter crashed in the Japanese Sea. Here, I'll give you the details on this. U.S. Air Force Osprey crashes off Japan during training, killing at least one of the 8 on board. It says here, a U.S. Air Force Osprey, based in Japan, crashed during a training mission Wednesday off the country's southern coast, killing at least one of its 8 crew members. The cause of the crash and the status of the 7 others on board were not immediately known, Japanese Coast Guard spokesman said. There you go. All right, so keep a good thought for those people and their families. That's not good news. The Pope is sick. We talked about this yesterday. They're, any day now. I said it's a horse race, right? Jimmy Carter and the Pope. Both of these guys, how many breaths do they got left? Carter's got 570 deep breaths left. The Pope has 575. Pope and Jimmy, are they going to go on the same day? The Pope is not good. The Pope's entire schedule has been cleared. He had a bunch of trips scheduled. This is the busy time for the Pope, Catholic Christmas season and all. So this is not good. This is serious. The Pope is not able to speak at the moment, which I would think would be a big part of the job. He's got someone speaking for him. So there you have it. Keeping a look on the Pope. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter has also now been returned to hospice care after attending the memorial service / funeral of his wife, Rosalind Carter. There you go. So, I mean, look, Pope and Jimmy Carter, right? We got 2 guys here. Keep an eye on them. Mark Cuban. We talked about this last night as it broke last night. Mark Cuban, who is as identified with the professional sports team that he owns as anybody else in the history of professional. Red Auerbach in the Celtics. Sure. Mark Cuban in the Mavericks. Maybe Jerry Buss in the Lakers. That's it. That's really it. I mean, that's when you think, I'm trying to think of any sports. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Okay, Jerry Jones is a big brand. It's going to be hard to imagine the Cowboys without Jones. Although we've all fantasized. Cuban selling the Mavericks for $3.5 billion to the Adelson family. Miriam Adelson, the widow of Las Vegas casino magnate Sheldon Adelson. $3.5 million. Controlling interest, majority stockholder. So they're the owner. When they talk about the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, it's not Mark Cuban anymore. Mark bought the team in 2020. Mark bought the team in 2000 for $285 million. Mark Cuban is the investor, right? That's what he does. $285 million, 23 years ago. In 23 years, he turned $285 million into $3.5 billion. Extrapolate that out per year, and that's like, owning the Mavericks, he made $400 million a year profit, something like that. I don't know. I can't do math that quick. Look, I love Mark Cuban. I think Mark Cuban's great. I think he's awesome. he's been very nice to me throughout my time here in Dallas. I mean, not recently. I haven't seen him in 10 years, but but he's always been very accommodating. He was very helpful, very nice guy, very friendly. I mean, he remembers you, which is great. I ran into him, down in Uptown. There's that little gas station right in the middle of Uptown. It's like over by the, what hotel is that? I forgot what hotel it is. Anyway, there's a nice hotel there. And then there's just like this little gas station. I was in that gas station in Uptown and Mark Cuban was buying beer. He was buying a case of beer. And he came walking up and I'm standing in the other row and he looks at me and he goes, "What's up, Pugs? How's Kelly?" Just like a normal guy. Like you just run into him. It's like, "What's up, Pugs? How's Kelly?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, Mark." Just weird. Normal guy. So I like Mark Cuban. Again, don't know him, wouldn't call him a friend, but, have crossed paths with him. And he's always carried himself as a cool guy. Like a guy like, that dude's cool, man. He said the coolest thing I've ever heard anyone say. He was a guest on our show, and we had Craig Gass on. Craig Gass was a guest at the same time. Craig Gass is a comedian. Craig Gass is very famous for his years on the Howard Stern show. He did Al Pacino's Baby and Gene Simmons and all that. Craig became a good friend of our show. So Craig was on the show and Mark Cuban was a guest and we're all hanging out and we're all talking and there was a Mavs game that night. And Mark said, "Do you guys want to come to the Mavs game?" And me and Kelly didn't, but me and Craig Gass were like, "Yeah, we'll go to the Mavs game tonight." He's like, "Okay, cool. You can have my seats." So Mark Cuban gave me and Craig Gass his floor seats on the floor at the Mavericks game. My feet were on the floor. There was a timeout where the referee put the ball right next to my feet, and I literally put my shoes on the ball. Like I was rolling the ball around with my feet during the timeout. That's how close these seats were. I'm sitting next to Tiffany, his wife. Tiffany, it's me, Tiffany, Craig. It was he was very kind. It was a very kind gesture. But the game was over. The Mavs lost. The Mavs lost in the final second. It was a last-minute shot. They were playing the Clippers, the LA Clippers. It was a last-minute shot. And the Clippers won, and everybody walks off the court. Mark Cuban, from where he stands underneath the basket on the other side. He doesn't stand near his seats. But after the game, after they lose, he comes walking across the court directly to us. Because remember, I'm sitting next to his wife. So he's not coming up to me. He's coming up to his wife. In fact, he didn't even pay any attention to me and Craig. Comes walking across the floor, and his wife starts to say something like, "Nyang, nyang, 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 nyang," and I don't remember what it was. It wasn't particularly bad, but it sounded like wife stuff, like not game related. The game had just ended. They just lost. Mark was in a bad mood. He's walking towards his wife. She goes, "Hang yang," and she says something, and he stops, turns, puts his hand in the air, and goes, "I'll call you from the jet," and walks off in the other way. And me and Craig Gass turned to each other and went, "That is the coolest thing we've ever seen anyone do." His basketball team just lost. He's walking across the court to tell his wife what he's doing, and he sees that his wife is about to do wife stuff, and he's like, "I'll call you from the jet," and he walks away. We were like, that's cool. So I like Mark Cuban. Sold the Mavs. He's not the owner of the Mavs anymore. He's still in charge of basketball operations, but how far is that going to go? Can Mark Cuban now be fired by the Adelsons, right? I mean, what does this mean? I have no idea what this means. Anyway, he's no longer the owner. He also, the day before that, he stepped down from Shark Tank after 16 years saying, "I don't want to do this anymore." So in 48 hours, Mark Cuban has stepped away, shockingly, from Shark Tank. ABC had no indication this was going to happen, and then sold his team to the Adelsons, stunning the NBA. This wasn't something that was being talked about. So, I always think, okay, so he's making some major life changes. I wonder what happened in his life that made him make these. These are drastic changes for a very controlled and strategic guy. These are two seemingly spur-of-the-moment decisions made by a guy whose entire business plan is be smart, be strategic, stay the course. So I don't know. I hope he's all right. I hope everything's fine. And you know what? I hope this is Mark Cuban at his age. He's still a young man, 60, something like that. I hope this is Mark Cuban at his age looking at his kids and going, "You know what? I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want now. I'm just going to get rid of everything. I'm going to hang out around the house. I hope that's it. I really do. I hope that's it." Mark Cuban no longer owns the Dallas Mavericks, but he is in charge of basketball operations for the time being. I mean, that seems like, ownership says one thing, but Mark disagrees. And, how long before this whole thing goes squirrely? I don't know. Yesterday, we talked about the trans situation at Monarch High School in Florida. Monarch High School in Florida had a girl playing on the volleyball team who was born a boy. Other schools in the district outed her. They said, hey, they got a girl playing on that team who's actually a boy. The school board, the school authority, they reacted by reassigning the principal of Monarch, the coach of the team, the athletic director, and the vice principal for violating a Florida law that was signed into effect last year. The law says that it is illegal to allow a trans woman to play women's sports. That's the law. In Florida, a trans woman cannot play women's sports. A trans woman cannot play girl sports. That's the law in Florida, signed by DeSantis. However, the weird thing about that is that there is absolutely nothing in the law about trans boys playing women's sport, trans boys playing guy sports. I think that's strange. And the Florida law goes out of the way to distinguish the two. So they're saying they have a problem with someone born a boy transitioning to a woman and then playing against girls. They have a problem with that, as do I. Just basic abilities. I just have a problem with that. There's an advantage there. But they don't have a problem with it in the other way, is the attitude that, well, if you're born a girl and then you want to be a boy and you can play shortstop really good, we don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't understand why they have a problem. Anyway, the students at Monarch School in Florida staged a mass walkout yesterday in support of their trans student. And look, I don't give a shit how you feel about this, but I see a bunch of students coming around, circling the wagons around another student. This is what I mean when I tell you these people are better than we were. What would you prefer? No, I want all the students to bully the fuck out of that trans kid, that trans freak. Is that what you want? It's a fucking brutally awful way of looking at the world. Why do you give a shit? You don't go to that school. Your kids don't go to these kids at that school want to protect this kid. That's a fucking beautiful thing, regardless of where you are on the politics of it. Yeah, you can roll your eyes and you can be a bitter old man and go, fucking kids walking out. No, man, this is a nice thing. These kids, I don't know what it is to be trans. I know it's a thing. And I know that if you are that, it's probably been difficult for you. So I can compassionately go, thank God I don't have that thing going on in here. But I got a lot going on in here. So I know that there are people who probably have other things going on in here when I know what I got going on in here. We're all fucked up if we care to take a look. So compassion is important here. Anyway, I think that's a good thing. All the students should be expelled for supporting the trend. No, these students should be applauded for being nice. For man, when I was a kid, it was Lord of the Flies, man. Dude, if a kid showed up at school with a popped collar, it was like, that dude's gay. Hey, faggot. I mean, that's how cruel the world was. I don't know, because being cruel, being the one that's dishing out the meanness means that somehow in your universe you're above them, and it's good to be. I don't know why, but these students staged a walkout at Monarch High School in Broward County yesterday. I don't know if they did it again today. There was talk that they were going to do it again today. Broward High School students staged walkout in support of transgender student. Hundreds of students at Monarch High School staged a walkout during school hours Tuesday. And by the way, I can say this isn't just a bunch of weird kids in Florida, because I can tell you my son, my 14-year-old meatball, football, Texas, girl crazy, 14-year-old boy, I know for a fact that he would have been one of these students walking out, and not just because he was trying to get out of class, because I've heard him talk about kids that he goes to school with who are trans. Now, there was one in middle school. There was a person who, and I put it this way, this person happened to be trans. Okay. This person happened to be a trans student. And my son got into a fight with them. And my son cleaned his clock. And it was a boy transitioning to a girl that my son got into a fight with. And it was a big deal. it was a real big deal. Parents get called, principal. What's happening? There's an investigation going on? Is my son now guilty of a hate crime? It didn't get that far. Nobody in the community or anything was like, this needs to be a hate crime. I mean, God forbid if it had leaked somehow on Twitter, what would have happened to my kid? But guess what happened with the investigation? They found out that this fight wasn't about my son hating this person because they were trans. This fight was about this trans kid who just happens to be trans. We got to stop defining people entirely by one aspect of their life. This kid happened to be trans. He also happened to be a fucking dick. And everybody was like, no, that dude's a bully. That person picks on people. So it was determined after the event, all the teachers were like, this was my kid was, as it turns out, sticking up for another kid. But because of that situation, I've had a lot of conversations with my son, and I am shocked at the amount of trans students who are out there. There's a lot of them. Makes me wonder, when I was in high school, there were none. So when I'm in high school, I'm like, how many of these dudes were like hiding or closeted? I don't know. But he has talked about, the trans thing. And I know for a fact that he has no problem with it. His whole thing is, it's not my thing, but whatever. I also know that he doesn't have he's got a friend who he says is bisexual. And I'm like, you okay with that? He's like, yeah, it's not going to hit on me, Dad. I go, okay, all right, good. That's good. So I don't know. Kids are just different. Kids are more accepting. They're less willing to just hate based on things. So that happened in Broward County. Now, the legal issue about whether or not this student should be allowed to participate in girls' sports is a completely different thing than the student showing compassion for one of their own. The legal issue, I agree with. I happen to agree with. I don't think that trans women should be allowed to play girls' sports. I believe that is unfair to female athletes who work every bit as hard as their male counterparts. And now they're fighting it. It's to me, to my understanding, with no hate in my heart, it is obvious to me that men are bigger, faster, and stronger than the average woman. So that just, to me, athletically in a competition setting, seems to be a little bit unfair. And my God, can we just stop so easily shitting on women? This is a defense of women issue. This is not an anti-trans issue for me. I have friends who have daughters who are super athletes, and I've had conversations I got one friend whose daughter might be one of the best soccer players in the country. I don't want her losing out a scholarship or losing out a championship or losing a chance to play in the Olympics, which is a dream. I don't want that happening because there was an athlete that got the position that was better. It's just unfair. We do nothing but shit on women in this country at every turn. And now we're going to shit on women athletes because what? Make a third league. That's what I say. Whatever. Make a trans league for people who are gender fluid. If there's enough of them they want to play there, they can play together. Oh, well, they're allowed to participate. Shouldn't be dependent on, others. What if there's not enough? Then they can't participate. Yeah, then they can't participate. Or they can conform to the rules. There are schools that have haircut rules. You can't play sports if your hair is too long. And guess what? Kids who really want to play the sport, they conform to the rules. You don't have to conform to your rules in your real life. Do whatever you want. Live. Be you. That's what this is all about. But my God, man, come on. We move on this. I don't know. We can move. I'm just ranting. That's what we do here on this stream. Let's see here. Where are we? Charlie Munger has died. Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is famous for being an investor. He's Charlie Munger is the other guy. He's sort of the John Oates or the Andrew Ridgeley of Berkshire Hathaway. Because everybody knows Daryl Hall. Everybody knows George Michael, right? So in this scenario, that's Warren Buffett. Everybody knows Warren Buffett, but everybody didn't necessarily know Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's partner at Berkshire Hathaway, and he's dead now. 99 years old. He died yesterday. A big money guy. Quiet. Nobody knew. There's always one guy who's out in front, Warren Buffett, and then there's another guy who's a little bit less. Let's see here. What else do we have that's trending? Melania is trending. Melania is trending because any opportunity to take that chick down a couple of pegs, the Twitterverse will not let go by. Which is fine. That's what Twitterverse does. I mean, Jesus, imagine being Michelle Obama. You think Melania's got it bad? Please. You people are all assholes. So Melania is getting raked because she showed up at the funeral of Rosalind Carter, which when I heard Melania was showing up at the funeral for Rosalind Carter, I thought, all right, isn't that nice? Isn't that a positive? Because I could totally see that faction, that anti-everything faction of America just being like, bah! And you're like digging in. But no, Melania went. So I thought that's awesome. That's good. Good. That's nice. Melania is there. Michelle Obama's there. Laura Bush is there. Hillary Clinton's there. You know, all the former first ladies got together because that's what Rosalind Carter had requested. So everything's fine, right? No, everything's not fine because apparently Melania didn't wear black. Melania wore gray and a light gray trench coat. In the whole Twitter world, that's so disrespectful. These people have no respect for anything. Kids in cages, right? And so you got to go back to all of that. They were mean. How is she supposed to be a fashion icon? And she doesn't know the first rule of fashion. And that is the first rule of fashion. Funerals, you wear black. And weddings, you don't wear white. Because, you know, bride is the one wearing white. Don't wear white to a wedding, you dumb bitch. You were black to a funeral. And everybody else was in black. All the other first ladies were in black. And, you know, Melania showed up in flip-flops, Daisy Dukes, and a tube top. No, she didn't. She looked fine. She looked fine. But, you know, you read these reactions online. Was it disrespect? The question becomes, was it an intentional show of disrespect? Because that is disrespectful to not don black at a funeral. Now, if you're broke and you don't have black, you can go and stand graveside in a funeral. You don't have to wear black. But these are the first ladies. They're supposed to all be in black. All the men were in black. That's what funeral is, black. So she got hammered for it. Now, my question is this. Is it possible she didn't know? Is it possible that she isn't that sophisticated? I think it is. I think that, I mean, Melania, I know that there's a whole lot of, you know, she graduated from Harvard. No, she didn't. She did. She was an Eastern European hot chick who got into the European fashion lane at like 15 years old. She was sex veal. She was model veal. She was a forgettable one in, you know, a dime a dozen super smoking hot chick that wasn't named Elle McPherson or Chris. Like, there's only Cindy Crawford. There's only so many that get to be like the supermodels. But she was a working model in that model system. She met and fell in love with a billionaire like 20 years older than her. I don't know that she is all that cultured. Like, she came from an Eastern Bloc country. Do you think they sat around at dinner going, you know, young Melania, you don't wear black? I mean, does she not know? And if she doesn't know, are you telling me they don't have people around her? Like, she doesn't have a full staff that was like, you're wearing that? So that leads me to believe, was there a conversation about her wearing black and she just defiantly said no because she didn't know that that's really what's expected of someone in mourning? I don't know. I think it's great that she showed up. I totally assumed that there would be no Trump representative at all at the funeral of Rosalind Carter. And we got one. So that's good. Does she not know? Does she not know that you can't? That I don't know. She's brilliant, dude. Not like, she's not from America. I don't know what her culture. You know, I don't know what her sophistication is. Did she ever go to like grooming school? Right? Does she know what fork does what? I don't know. Or was she always just a hot chick sitting at a table with a billionaire, being quiet and not making a spectacle of herself? I think that's what she was. And I think this is a situation now where she's like, oh, guess I didn't know you were supposed to wear black because I'm just really hot and I've been keeping my mouth shut for 30 years. I don't know. Unfortunately, she got completely hammered, but whatever. Leave her alone. It's so stupid. It's good that she went. That should have been the story. Melania Trump shows class, shows up, you know, puts the battle saber down, represents that whole wing. And by the way, here's the other thing. It couldn't have been easy for Melania Trump. How weird is that? All the first ladies were kept sequestered in a room together. What do you think that was like? Because Michelle Obama and Laura Bush are talking, and certainly Hillary is talking, and all. Did anybody try and be nice to her? You know what I mean? Did anybody was she sitting by herself? Were they ignoring her? Because you know how women can be. Women can be really catty. I'm wondering if they were nice. I don't think Hillary and certainly not Michelle. I don't think they were nice. I think they may have been appropriate, but cold. Like if they're setting the temperature of the room when Melania walks in, yeah, that had to be rough on her. Laura, I bet Laura Bush was nice in that Southern, bless your heart kind of way. The way like you'd expect Laura Bush to be. I imagine that. Anyway, there you go. Melania, that's why she's trending. Here, this was interesting. This is a sports story that's going around. I wanted to talk about this because it concerns my Chicago Bears and something that happened during the game on Monday night. Did you see the Monday Night Football game? Of course you didn't. It was one of the worst Monday night games you could possibly tune into. But there was something that happened, and I'm getting tired of this. I am getting tired of, I want robot referees in the NFL. I don't want referees anymore. Human referees suck. They do nothing but make stupid. I understand that a lot of the flags that get thrown are flags that, certainly would have been thrown 10 years ago. But they're missing things. And there needs to be a way to correct these things when you miss them. When you get a call wrong, when you say something happened and then the video shows that it didn't happen just simply because you don't have a mechanism in place in the rule book to go back and check. You got to just do what's right. Because what happened in the game on Monday, there was some bullshit. It was late in the game. I think it was late in the third quarter. And it was Minnesota. They were driving. They were trying to get back in the game. Or no, they had the lead at this point. And the Bears defense had held them. It was like 3rd and 7 or something. And they were desperate. They were on their side of the field. And the Bears defense came up with another good stop on 3rd and 8. However, there was a 15-yard penalty assessed to a Bears cornerback for taking his helmet off. So the play is done. Everybody's jumping around. Everybody's excited, especially the Bears. Kyler Gordon takes his helmet off, starts running to his sideline because now it's, punt team's coming on. Starts running to his sideline, and a flag gets thrown. 15-yard, unsportsmanlike penalty, taking your helmet off on the field. First down, Minnesota. It was a game-changing first down. That was a huge defensive stop to get the ball back, and they threw a flag. 15 yards, unsportsmanlike conduct. Now, in the moment, everybody realized what was going on here. His helmet was broken. He took his helmet off because it was broken. And the referees refused to even consider that. His helmet, his face mask was hanging off. So he was running to the sideline to get his helmet fixed. So he took it off, and they threw a 15-yard flag, negating the great defensive play, giving Minnesota a first down in there. Now Minnesota went and scored and took the lead. Now Bears were able to come back. But that is the kind of bullshit that these NFL referees have been pulling for a couple of years now. I understand they're in a difficult place because the league gets on them about certain hits, and this affects them and their placement in games. And, oh, you're not going to get the postseason this year because you made some sus calls. You should have called that. You didn't call it. You're letting them play. So it's hard being a ref, but my God. Now, on this particular play that I just described, that maybe if you saw the game, you remember this play. On this particular play, it was revealed this morning because the Chicago Bears put it out. Kyler Gordon was mic'd up. So the player who this occurred to was actually mic'd up. And here, we have it in real time. So watch this bullshit. Watch this 15 yards unsportsmanlike for taking his helmet off because the referee didn't realize that the helmet was broken and needed to be fixed. Here we go. All right, let's watch this. This is going to be the whole play. And you'll get to hear Kyler Gordon. You'll get to see it. This is just, whatever. All right, here we go. All right, so here's the play. This is the tail end of the play. And you'll see what happens.
Snagged out of the air. Jalen Johnson with the interception to midfield to the 45 of the Vikings.
Hey, yeah! Let's go! Unsportsmanlike conduct by Chicago number 6 for taking his helmet off.
Oh. Look at it. It's like it's broken.
What?
Calm down. Come back.
They are telling the referee and showing the referee that the helmet is broken. He didn't take it off because it was excessive celebration, right? He took it off because he needs to get back in the game, because he needs to get his helmet fixed. And the refs did nothing.
We got you. Broke completely off the thing.
So now the equipment, now he's talking to the equipment manager. He's getting his helmet fixed because despite the bullshit, he still needs to have a functioning helmet.
We got you. Broke completely off the thing. I'll bring it right down to you.
What happened?
He ripped my helmet off when I was driving him out of bounds.
I see your face, man.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. NFL, man. I'm telling you, we can't get to AI refs. Is that a thing? Could that be a thing? I mean, look, I'm more. So I have a hard and fast rule about baseball. I don't challenge umps in baseball because you just can't. That's a never-ending cycle. Umps are going to have different strike zones. What you got to hope for is that the umps are equally bad for both pitchers. So baseball umpiring, I don't get. Football umpiring. Football is a sport where jacked up calls affect games, affect records, affect historic standing of teams. Football referees, I hold them to a different standard. It's a much different interruption to the game than a baseball umpire. Baseball umpire, now really baseball umpires, man, everything is cameraed. Everything is, they'll get it right. First base. And I'm impressed by baseball umpires more times than I'm angry about home plate umpires. That's the umpire who takes most of our ire as baseball fans, the home plate umpire. But have you ever been just blown away by first base umpires? First base umpires. I don't know how they get it right. They get it right more times than they don't. Way more times than they don't. And it's by like an eyelash. First base ump calls the guy out and it's like, no way is he out. And then you watch it super slowed down and you're like, holy shit, he was out. I don't know how they do it. Baseball umps. I don't really have any comments for NBA or NHL refs. But football refs, man, I got a real problem with them. All right, here. Because as I said, we're basically out of stuff. The show is over. It's not over. We got other stuff we're going to do. I'm going to run through some crap here. But it's more fun stuff. This is just, stuff that was trending that I pulled up. That not necessarily breaking news or big headline stuff, but things that we can have a little bit of fun with, like this. Okay, so I found another one of these lists. Where did this come to us from? Spin Magazine. All right, let's do this, shall we? 10-1. All right, we'll go 10-1. All right, so this is a Spin Magazine list of the greatest American rock bands of all time. Okay. This is a terrible list. This is the greatest, according to Spin. Now, I don't know who this is. I don't know if these are like 25-year-old Spin interns writing this piece. I don't know if this is some 60-year-old guy. I don't know what this is. But this is possibly the worst list. Okay, so remember, here's the list. Greatest American bands of all time. First of all, they got shit like this. We'll go number 10. You got Prince, okay? Prince, I don't consider him to be in a band. This is a band. This is supposed to be the 10 greatest American bands of all time. Prince comes in at number 10. All right, let's look here. Number 9. What's number 9? Oh, there you go. Number 9. Okay. Parliament Funkadelic. I am pleased that Parliament Funkadelic gets listed here as the number 9 best American band, but I don't think they're a top 10 band. I think they're a legit band that needs to be considered. Maybe they're a top 10 band. They could find their way in there. I could be convinced, but man. So this is actually, respect for them actually putting Parliament Funkadelic in here at number 9. Who else do we have? Number 8, Talking Heads. Best or greatest American bands of all time. Greatest is such a weird, like, what is this? Is this a subjective? Is this just what you think, what these people think? Because Talking Heads are a great American band, but one of the greatest of all times? Look, if you got Talking Heads at number 8, that means Bon Jovi's got to be like 3, right? I mean, Talking Heads, with all due respect. The Beach Boys at number 7. Okay, this one I get. This is a big one. This, as a matter of fact, I would argue, like, I don't know what this list is going to bear out, but if you were to say who are the biggest American rock bands of all time, I would say the Eagles and the Beach Boys. I'd be like, Eagles, Beach Boys. That's it. 1, 2. The Eagles. Nobody's bigger than the Eagles. Nobody's sold more than the Eagles. Nobody's had more hits than the Eagles. It's not even a fair comparison. Eagles and the Beach Boys. Beach Boys coming in at number 7. I don't know where the Eagles are going to be on this list. Honestly, probably nowhere. Number 6, the Grateful Dead. All right, I guess if we have to. If we have to. Freaking Grateful Dead. I'm not a Grateful Dead fan. I don't have any hatred for them, but I can't with that. I don't like jam bands. I hate Dave Matthews. I hate Fish. I hate anyone that goes, hey, we're going to take the 3.5-minute pop song you love from the radio and we're going to turn it into a 25-minute jazz odyssey. No, thank you. Don't want that. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at number 5. This is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, although I put him sort of in with Prince. Like, it seemed like more of one guy with a couple of side dudes. The Heartbreakers were a real band. They are a real band. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, number 5. I think that's right. I think Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, list of greatest American bands, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are top 5. I would say I agree with this. The Miles Davis Sextet, they do this. Number 4. They do this. They do this. Music people. Well, I've got to show that I know way more than the average reader, so I'm going to put a selection in here. Fuck you. Where's Poison? Really? We got 4 more. You're telling me these 4 better be Bon Jovi, Poison, Motley Crue, and I don't know, Eagles. That better be these 4, because otherwise this list is garbage. Miles Davis taking up page 4. He can be brilliant and he can be a genius. He can also be a guy who probably commercially sold like 50 albums. Stop it. The Allman Brothers. Okay, you got to make a case for the Allman Brothers. You really do. Although such a short period of time, because of the death of Duane Allman. The Allman Brothers were one of the greats, absolutely. But where's Skinner then? Where's Skinner? Where's Bon Jovi? We got 2 left. And there's no way. Okay, the Allman Brothers is 3 and 4? How? What? Okay, that's 3 twice. All right, never mind. They're just talking about them twice. Apparently, they got a lot to say. Jimi Hendrix at number 2. Jimi Hendrix and his band. This category is the 10 greatest American bands of all time. I do not think of Jimi Hendrix as a guy in a band. I know that he had side guys, but were they even American? Wasn't Jimmy's players, weren't they? I mean, Buddy Miles was American, his drummer, but that didn't come till later. That was like Electric. When was that Electric Ladyland? I don't know. Whatever. Jimi Hendrix is not a band, and he's not the number 2 greatest band in American or greatest American band ever. He's not. You make this argument when you're putting together your list of the artists. Then, maybe I'll consider Jimi Hendrix. But come on, man. Again, where's Bon Jovi? Oh, for Christ's sake. CCR is number 1. Are you kidding me? And this from a guy who loves CCR. I think CCR is great. Are they the number 1 American rock band of all time? This just, you know what? Everybody go to hell. I don't even want to talk. I'm blaming you people. I'm blaming you people in the chat room now for this nonsense. I don't know why. Hey, where's the dog? Hold on a second. CeeLo. I just heard like some barking from outside. Peter Lufkin says, who would be my number 1? Number 1 greatest American band. My number 1 greatest American band. Now, greatest is the word here, because there is no way to, what is great? What is great to me might be great, not great to you. How do you quantify greatness? So, here's how I would quantify greatness. I would quantify greatness with size, earnings, longevity, number of hits, number of albums sold, place in the popular culture. And for that, I would say Eagles without question. The Eagles are the number 1 American band of all time. I think the numbers bear that out. I think that if you looked at album sales, I can't imagine anybody else sold more albums than them. Peter Lufkin says Van Halen. Van Halen is, for me, a top 10 American band of all time. But, yeah, I mean, I could see why. See, like Van Halen wasn't as widely successful as the Eagles. People who hate the Eagles can sing word for word their greatest hits. That's a thing. That's greatness. When the people who hate you know the lyrics to your biggest songs. That's but yeah, I agree. I love Van Halen, Peter. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, wait a second. I'm wondering, will this show? This could be fun. All right, so maybe it will show. Hold on. Oh, so I'm not signed in here. I gotcha. Okay, so I guess I can't do that. Or wait, maybe I can. Hold on, let me see. Sorry, guys, give me a second. I'm actually distracted because I don't know where the dog is. I may have to stand up and go look in the backyard, see if I can find the damn the dog. Oh, you can make me do this, really. Ugh. All right, never mind. Forget it. I wanted to go through my Spotify Wrapped, but maybe we can do it tonight on the Radio Misfit show. So, it's that time of year again. Oh, it's so exciting. This is such a great idea. Spotify has been doing this now for a couple of years. If you're a member of Spotify, what Spotify does at the end of the year is they take everything that you listen to all year long and they create like your top 10 hits of the year, your top 10 artists of the year, your top 10 most listened to podcasts of the year. And it's fascinating. And also, in my case, hysterical, because Spotify thinks that my favorite artist and my favorite song of the year both come from failed presidential assassin John Hinckley. That's right. 2 years in a row, Spotify's like, and they do it like, because it's all, there's no judgment. They're like, your favorite artist is a very talented individual. They say all of that stuff, and then they reveal it's John Hinckley, and I'm like, yeah, Spotify thinks I'm nuts. All right, so let's look at this. This is, let's see, by Spotify, my top artists and trends for the year. Let's see. All right, so, actually here, overall with Spotify. So what is the world's Spotify list, right? This could be interesting. So the world's Spotify list. Like, let's just forget about me and John Hinckley being number one on my list. By the way, my top 3 is John Hinckley. Number 1, played more throughout the year, every day, twice a day for 2 years in a row. John Hinckley is my number 1. Number 2 is Material Issue, and number 3 is Wilco. So those are my 3 top artists of the year. Oh wait, maybe Bee Gees. It might be Bee Gees at number 3 because my son discovered the Bee Gees, and so we have a shared account. All right. So anyway, the Globe, here is the Globe's top artists. These are the most listened to artists on Spotify last year. Taylor Swift, of course, comes in at number 1. Bad Bunny at number 2. It just makes me mad. The name just makes me mad. I don't get it. Is it supposed to be ironic? Is it not ironic? Is that really his name? What? Bad Bunny? Is that a guy or a girl? I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what Bad Bunny is. I don't care. I don't care to know. And that's a sign that I'm getting old. Number 3 is The Weeknd, like The Weeknd. Number 4 is Drake. Number 5 is Peso Pluma. Anybody know who Peso Pluma is? Must be like some Spanish speaking, maybe. I don't know. Travis Scott comes in at 7. SZA comes in at 8. Karol G comes in at 9. Karol G. Who's Karol G? Karol G looks like the name of like a room mother. You remember when you'd go on field trips and somebody's mom would have to come? Teachers be like, who's on this trip? Where's Carol G? Who's Carol G? Number 9. Number 10, Lana Del Rey. She can't sing. I like Lana Del Rey. I think she's cool. I think her energy's cool, and I think her vibe is cool, but she can't sing. She's a terrible singer. Maybe she's got something else going on. Whatever. Hey, Bob Dylan's a terrible singer. Top global songs of 2023. Let's see how many of these I know. The number 1 song of 2023, according to Spotify, was Flowers by Miley Cyrus. Not a clue. No idea what that song is. Number 2, Spotify songs globally, Kill Bill by SZA. I got no idea what that song is. Number 3 on the Spotify list, most listened to songs of 2023, Harry Styles, As It Was. Yeah, I don't know. Number 4, a song called 7 by Jungkook. I don't know that. Number 5, most listened to song of the year on Spotify, Ella Baila Sola by Eslaban Armando and Peso Pluma. Oh, there's Peso Pluma. I've heard of them. I know Peso Pluma, but I don't know anything about this song. Number 6 song, most played song on Spotify in the year 2023, Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift. Look at me knowing a song. I know that one. How about Creepin' by Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, and 21 I don't know that one. Calm Down comes in at number 8. That's by Selena Gomez and Rima. Number 9 song of 2023, Shakira, a song called Bizarre Music's. I don't even care. And then number 10, Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift. Global albums, whole bunch of bands. Midnight by Taylor Swift was number 2. Number 1 was Uno Verano Sin Ti by Bad Bunny. Who cares? And Harry Styles. Morgan Wallen comes in at number 6 with One Thing at a Time. Top 10 global albums. Top 10 podcasts. Number 1 is, of course, the Joe Rogan Experience, but number 2 always shocks me. I hate that this is the number 2 podcast in America because I think it's I don't think it's good. Call Her Daddy. That's the Barstool. Call Her Daddy. It's not Barstool anymore, is it? Did she break free? She goes solo, whatever it is. I can't believe Call Her Daddy is the second most listened to podcast in the world. Ugh. What else do we have? Anything Goes with Emma Chamberlain. I don't know what that is, but she's at number 4, and that's really good. On Purpose with Jay Shetty. Number 5. I don't know what that is. So TED Talks Daily. That comes in at number 10. Where are my favorite ones? There we go. Look at my boy. Good for him. Number 16 podcast globally is Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard. I love that. That's so great. You want to talk about a dude who just seems like the best? That's Dak Shepard. Dak Shepard just seems like the best. And I want to hate everything about him because, again, we're dealing with a guy who's handsome, smart, really smart. Dak Shepard is really smart, which is interesting because his type, in the Hollywood Clone Factory, he was the dumb, handsome guy. He's that guy, kind of a Spicoli type. Dak Shepard's really smart. Not only is he really smart, but he's really well formed. And by that, what I mean is he has taken all of the experiences of his life and he has used them to make him a better person in the now. He's a really good person. I have nothing but, and he's handsome. He's not he was a failed actor. Dak Shepard is not a star actor. Dak Shepard is a C or D list actor. That's who he is. And then he knew he wasn't going to get more acting roles. I mean, what's his most famous thing? Idiocracy. Okay, great. How did he follow up that? Nothing. Okay. So he's not getting roles, but he started directing and started writing, and he's had a little bit of success with that behind the scenes. But he was nothing. It was like a guy whose career had totally stalled. And then and then the podcast launches, and now Dak Shepard is one of the most interesting people in the world of digital media. Love him. And every night he crawls into bed with Kristen Bell. So winner, chicken dinner. I just can't love him, though. I do love him. I should hate him. I should resent his every breath, and I don't. What else? Smartless is another one of my favorite podcasts. Smartless comes in at number 21. And then a whole bunch of other things that I'll never waste my time on. Jordan Peterson podcast, stuff like that. No thanks. Trying to see if there are any other things here on that. Nah, never mind. That's it. All right. So there we go. That's the Spotify thing. And what else do we have? Oh, here's a story. All right, we'll do this one real quick. And then I think we're gonna get out of here. Oh no, we'll do this other one too. Top Christmas songs. So they're already putting out a list in America. All right, this is from some Houston newspaper. What is this? Oh, is this iHeartMedia has put together their most requested, the top 5 Christmas songs that U.S. residents are listening to. This says according to Google. But what does iHeart have to do with this? All right. So what are the top Christmas songs? The top Christmas song is that Mariah Carey one, right? Or it's either like a Mariah Carey or a Whitney Houston one, right? Okay. Let me pull this list up. Yeah, here we go. All right, the number one most listened to, most requested, according to Google, Christmas song is All I Want for Christmas Is You. That's Mariah Carey. That's a good Christmas song. I like that. Isn't that in Love Actually? A movie I tried to make my 14-year-old son watch. I tried. All right, so I misjudged my 14-year-old. So I thought that if I could get him to watch the first 5 minutes of Love Actually, that he'd be hooked and that he'd want to watch the rest of it with me because it's my favorite Christmas movie of all time. And the first 5 minutes of Love Actually is just a narration. It's just Hugh Grant narrating raw footage. Like there's what we're seeing on screen is just raw footage of the arrivals gate at Heathrow Airport. So we're just seeing families being reunited, people hugging, kissing, embracing, all of that. That's the imagery that we're seeing in the first 5 minutes. And it goes on. Just shows people embracing and loving each other. It's beautiful. And then the narration of Hugh Grant is all about how love is all around us. That's the whole point. So I thought if my 14-year-old son could see that, he might be moved. He might go, wow, that was powerful. And it didn't work out that way, though. Because, he wasn't even focused on it. He's got his phone going. He's like, yeah, Dad. And I'm like, are you paying attention? Yeah, I'm paying attention. Love is everywhere. Fuck, go in the other room. Yeah, you know what? If you don't want to be a better person in this moment, you go in the other room. Those are literally the words I said. I said, if you don't want to be a better person, then you go in the other room. Yeah. Thank you, Byron. Hold on. Byron just said, CeeLo? Yeah, I gotta go check. I don't know where the dog is. All right. The dog is out cold. The dog is out cold in the other room in the corner. So being weirdly quiet. Today. Maybe she's sick. Oh, there's a big bad dog flu going around. We got to keep an eye on that. Okay. Thank you, Byron, for reminding me that I was worried about where my dog was. That's it. We're done. We got nothing else. That's pretty much going to be it for the show. I apologize that we ran out of time here. We didn't run out of time. I ran out of content. Go find CeeLo. I found her. She's right here. All right. Let's add to my John Hinckley. I've got to be the number one player of John Hinckley music, right? Every day, twice a day. I'm going to figure out a way tonight. It's funny. I'm going to figure out a way tonight for James and I, the Radio Misfits show at 9:00. I'm going to figure out a way to show my Spotify thing because it's kind of funny. It's like the way John Hinckley keeps popping up. Like, Like you could be like, okay, all right, that's a good song. Oh yeah, that band. Oh wow, this guy's got pretty good taste. And then suddenly it's like John Hinckley, and you're like, wait, what? What is this guy getting into? So we'll do that tonight. Bye everybody. Bye Peter. Again, anybody tipped the show today, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. We are this month. There's not a 31st day of this month, which means Friday is the 1st, the 2nd and 3rd are dead days. The 4th by the end of the show, Monday. Man, I don't know where we are as far as raising for the month of December, but I'll let you know tomorrow. Thank you, folks. Anybody who wants to help out and drop a little something there in the tip jar, that'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll let you know. Tomorrow. We'll put the number up, and we'll see if we can get to the number over the next few days. We will. We always do. You guys. Although, I shouldn't say that. I don't know. Is that like bad? Like, is it bad for me to be like, no, we will, because you always come through and we always do? Because at some point, it's just not. This can't go on forever. So I don't know. But what my concern is that when I talk about this, I don't make you guys feel, I want to make you guys feel good. I don't want to make you guys feel bad. Like, I don't do a hard sell. Like, tip the show or it's going away. I mean, I'm not comfortable with that. So whatever you can do, and you've always done it, and we appreciate it. So thank you so much. And I'll get a hard number for tomorrow's show, and we'll go show by show and see if we can't get to our goal. God, I hate this time of the month. That's what she said. All right, I gotta go. Love you guys. Bye-bye.